Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. We talk every week about the social media world, the digital media world. It's loud, it's crowded, a lot of times it's wrong. So you need professionals like the folks at Oak City Tech to help you get the right message out to your current clients and future clients. So if you'll go to oakcitytech.com, tell them what you're looking for, I know they'll be able to help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Each week on Triangle BNI, we bring to you a local small business success story. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle is Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. Each week, about 31 chapters, about 530 members get together, and our goal is to help each others grow their businesses. And our special guest today, excuse me, Karyl Smith with Alcova Mortgage. Karyl is launching a New Bern chapter. We're going to get into why she moved to New Bern, what she left behind in Raleigh with people like us, and what the mortgage world is like. So, Karyl, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. I'm doing well. I hope you are.
I am. We are glad to have you here today. You've been in the mortgage world since 2001.
Yes.
Um, let's start with that. We're gonna get to some things people need to think about, but I always love moments in time and transitions and what we learn. So 2001, when you started, I know there's like 1,000 things that are new and different now, but what jumps out at you?
Um, what jumps out at me? It was you know, crazy times then and crazy times now. So things change daily in my industry, even hourly sometimes. But the one thing that remains the same is that people need homes and they need mortgages to realize those dreams, and I can certainly provide them that. And it is definitely a crazy world.
Do you remember your first transaction?
I do. I was actually in the subprime market at the time, and my first transaction was a huge transaction in that world, because we did a lot of mortgages for people that had double wides and even single wides as homes. And I somebody called in and I refinanced their regular huge stick-built home. They had an unusually high interest rate for even those times, and I was able to refinance them and save them hundreds of dollars per month, and they were very happy.
What was the going interest rate back then?
Oh my goodness. It was probably 8% or something like that. I don't recall exactly, but yeah.
What is the highest rate you recall seeing in your time?
My own first mortgage when I bought a house in the 80s, and that was about 18%.
Oh, in the '80s, I remember. Okay, all right. 18%. Wow. People
Yes.
would blow their minds.
Well, the important thing to remember about that is that people will always need homes and buy homes. It doesn't really matter what the interest rate is, truly. They just buy less of a home.
Eight, oh gosh, I forgot about that. And the
Yeah.
lowest you've seen probably is within the last year, year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah. Like 2% or
It got
something like that.
stupid low, didn't it?
Yeah.
You
Just about
couldn't
free
you
money.
probably couldn't do enough refinances, right, at that point?
Craziness.
Yeah.
It was tough to keep up with everything
Oh,
and get
man.
everybody squeezed into that window.
So let's talk about that first. If somebody's listening to the show here and if they're over what, 4%, should they what's the if what rate should they look at to save on to make sure it's worth even doing it? Is there a rule of thumb?
Uh, there is and there isn't. It depends on the mortgage size
Mhm.
and what they're trying to accomplish. If they are consolidating, doing a cash out refinance, and they are paying off a lot of high interest debt, well, then it makes sense to maybe even go up a little bit in your interest rate to accomplish a huge savings in your overall monthly outlay.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way. because usually people, yeah, I guess I always assume that people just refinance to get a lower rate, but you're right, a lot of times they're going to do something with that money.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you get
And now more than ever, people may have equity in their homes with the rising values, especially in Wake County
oh,
and surrounding areas. They've got the equity. Why not use it to your
yeah.
advantage?
Oh, I'm with you. So if somebody's looking to refinance now, they're thinking about it, talking with their spouse or whoever. What are a couple things they need to make sure are in order before they come to you?
It's always good to present with the lowest debt load possible when you are looking to do anything, whether it's buy a home or refinance your existing mortgage. Um, just pay down those credit cards if they're out there, pay them down to even zero balance if at all possible. And that way, your whole credit profile looks amazing. So that is one thing to do. Make sure that you don't have any late payments out there. Make sure that you don't have any collections that you really had no idea that that were not paid, and they're out there floating around. Good idea to kind of double check on those things.
The credit reporting companies, Equifax, there's 3 of them still, right?
Yes,
Do we get 1 free each year from each of the 3 or just from 1?
that's a good question, Mike. I am not sure. A lot of times you can sign up for the different little credit checking things. Um, it's a good idea just to do that at least once a year, just to keep an eye on your overall picture, because there are mistakes on credit reports that
Yes.
happen all the time,
Yeah.
and you don't want that to go on and go on. You want to get that correct.
And most people go through their adult life, the only time they even think about their credit report probably is when they're buying a house, right?
That's
Or
true. Or
or
or financing a
yeah,
car. Yeah,
yeah, something like that, and we forget about or like, I'm sure everything on there's fine. Who would put
that's
wrong
right.
information? Who would put, 133,000 instead of 13,000 in a keystroke? Nah, that'll never happen. So, the Raleigh market is just, it's unreal. The number of houses under 300,000 that are available is just a tiny number.
Yes.
Because it is a seller's market from a buyer's standpoint, what are the step explain to me a pre-approved versus pre-qualified. I keep getting them mixed up.
Sure. Pre-approved is you've actually gone through the process of underwriting, whether it's desktop underwriting or a full underwriting process um, without a property. A pre-qualification is just that you have had your credit checked, and from everything that you have told me or another mortgage professional, the debt load checks out, the income checks out with what you're saying. You may not have provided documentation for all of what you are telling us is true, but according to what you're telling us, it should work.
Right.
A pre-approval is one step further. You've provided documentation to support what you've said is true, and hey, we're good to go. You can borrow this much.
And that will get the attention, the undivided attention of a realtor and a seller, correct?
Absolutely. It's added security.
Right. And how long is that pre-approval good for?
It's typically good for 3 or 4 months.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, we wanna update it if it stretches on, we'll update it with updated documents just to make sure that no changes have taken place.
We've had, some realtors and some mortgage people on the show, and they all tell their clients, "Don't go buy anything until after you close," and yet some people still wanna go buy something, don't they?
And nobody likes those surprises, and I always tell my clients, "We're taking a snapshot right now, and we would like that snapshot to stay as close to this that as possible." and not incur any changes. If there are changes, then they're inevitable. We'll deal with them and hopefully come out on the other side. But we want to make sure that things stay as much as the same or get better or
Yeah.
improve um, than what we're starting out with.
And in this market where there's still multiple offers, multiple cash offers, do you even get a look from the seller if all you have is a pre-qualified letter?
Yes, you do. And we're checking people out fairly thoroughly. I
Mm,
like to ask for as much as possible up front. I don't like surprises,
mhm.
It's like, let's start this conversation, be transparent, and we'll paint this picture. I need to understand your picture so that when the day comes, I can explain it thoroughly to my underwriters and sell them on this pretty package that I've created, right?
Yeah.
This situation that is my buyer situation.
I know that your favorite part of the job is just the satisfaction of the buyer, of the client you're working with. I know that because you've said that before. But that aside, what's your favorite part of the process itself?
Probably when I have worked with a client that has had challenges and we've overcome them. And with their help, they've got to be on board. Let's just say it's somebody that has had bumps in the road with credit issues, and that can happen so easily. It doesn't really take much, and somebody might have had a couple missed payments on one of their other debts, and we've got to kind of overcome that first, and they've got to be on board. But when they know that the end product is they're going to be in their own home, and it might take us just a couple weeks, but it might take us 3 to 6 months in order to get to where we need to be credit score wise, debt load wise. But when they buy in and really work hard to make it happen, that's the
Mm.
best feeling.
When clients come to you, do they believe in their head they know, "I don't think I'll qualify for anything," or, "Oh, look." Do they do they think they know what they know when they come see you?
S- s- Some do, yes, definitely. We live in a very tech-friendly world, and a lot of people have done their homework and all of that, and that's wonderful. It's just the important thing to remember is that my industry does change so rapidly. Programs change, qualification uh, will change as far as what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. So it's a lot to keep up on, but yeah, if it opens more doors to people being homeowners, that's a wonderful thing.
Is the process the same for you whether you are working with a buyer who's going to live there versus a buyer who is the investor and will turn it into a rental property?
Um, there are the process for me is exactly the same. Yes, there are a little bit more qualifications and more guidelines for the buyer themselves.
Mm.
But they typically understand that, know that, and um, I like to make it as easy as possible and as less intrusive
Mm.
as possible. It is, as you know, an intrusive process to begin with,
Yes, it is.
and we just like to simplify it along the way and make it as comfortable as possible.
Yeah, you don't realize how many sheets of paper you're signing until you buy your first house.
Yeah.
Do people mainly find you through their realtor?
All many ways. Yes, that is often the case. Is a realtor has worked with me in the past and on transactions, and they've liked how it has gone, and because it's not just about, oh, it closed, and it's not even just about, oh, it closed on time. It's about how easy the process was. If they were informed along the way of where we're at and what we need, and anything that they can do to help make it happen a little easier. But I also get referrals from just anybody that knows I do mortgages, and that's always a good thing.
which is why you continue to network.
That's right.
How late at night will you answer the phone?
I'm an early riser and a early to bed so, but I have been known to answer the phone at up until about 10 o'clock at night
And also
if
on
I
week
recognize
there
the
you go,
number.
there you go, and also on weekends.
If I can,
Yeah.
yes.
Now,
Yep.
some industries, I laugh about this with, certain guests on because they fall into this industry of you're at a party or you're at the neighborhood cookout, and they go, "Hey, Carol, do you have a second? I have one quick question for you." And then it turns into a 20-minute explanation about the mortgage industry. Do you get those questions?
All the time, and I love it.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I
All right.
do,
All right.
because I equally want to know about
Yeah.
little things like that about their industry. I just do. I like to see what makes people tick and what gets people excited about whatever they're doing, right?
We've had a couple of lawyers on and, people, they get it all the time. "Hey, one quick question. I got an issue. Just it'll probably take 2 minutes," and you know it won't, right? Same thing with house because you can't explain what they will or won't qualify for. A, you
That's right.
can't because you don't really know what their numbers are yet, but you just can't give them a yes, no answer, and I think that's what some people want sometimes at a picnic or a networking event, right?
Right.
Alright, so you started out here in, RDO 5 in Raleigh,
Yes.
which you were in for a long time.
Yeah.
And you decided that Raleigh just wasn't big enough for you. There wasn't enough excitement, so you decided, "Look, I'll move to New Bern. They have water there." Right? Am I getting to the right am I getting the steps in order here, okay?
Well, yeah, that's not
I
exactly
know,
what happened,
I know.
Mike.
No, and so you want to start your own chapter in New Bern because you see the value of BNI. And
Yes.
you and Chip Galusha, who is a consulting director out of Greenville, are helping get you're actually doing all the work. I mean, we're just helping put the system in place. But so far, so good. You've got 4 or 5 people identified. But this gives you just a wonderful opportunity, not that you weren't doing it before of talking to anybody you meet, but now it's kind of you're helping them out, aren't you?
Absolutely. It's I have not been involved before with starting a chapter. Before it was building a chapter and maintaining the numbers and gaining new members, but not starting from scratch. So that is all new to me, and it is very gratifying, very wonderful. I absolutely love it, and I am so excited about BNI in New Bern. I've even had people that I've talked to say, "Oh, I went to a BNI meeting here in New Bern maybe 10 years ago." And I said, "I don't think so, because I don't think BNI has been in New Bern. There have been other networking groups, but not BNI, which I obviously believe in because I know it works, and I have seen what it has done in my business in the Raleigh
Yeah.
area."
There was a group, they did meet. They didn't
Okay.
quite check all the boxes. They
Okay.
thought they did, so yes, you're both right. There was a group, there wasn't a group.
Okay.
Small
I
town
stand
versus big town, what are you learning about networking and meeting people and who wants to build relationships?
Yeah, well, just like the Raleigh area, you have people that have grown up there and have stayed there and continue to do business there. And then you have a lot of transplants. This area is wonderful because of the proximity to the water. You have a lot of people moving in and from all over, just like in the Triangle. Um, and I think from being kind of shut up and shut in, rather, with the pandemic and all of that, I think people are ready for this type of organization, and they want the boost that it could give to their business, and they seem to be excited. So I cannot wait to have a actual launched group here in
W
New Bern.
we're excited too, and I guess the beauty in your world, I mean, you can work remote, can't you?
Yes, absolutely.
So
So
for
it's
the people listening in Asheville or Charlotte, hey, they can call you, can't they?
absolutely. I would love to talk with
Good.
them.
Hopefully, we can
And
make that happen.
if they ever want to visit this beautiful area, I look out of my office window in the as I'm sitting
Mm.
here. Forward is the Trent River, and behind me is a lovely little lake. And so, if I'm working early mornings, I see sunrise, and if I'm working late at night, I see sunset out the
Oh,
back.
very
So
nice.
it's beautiful.
Now, I always love the "how did we get here" question. So you were raised pretty much in Chicago, right?
Actually, I
Or from
my
Chicago
family
originally? Something like that. Okay.
originally, and my family moved out to Northwest New Jersey
Mhm.
when I was 8, and so I grew up in Northwest New Jersey. Um, as an adult, as a young adult, lived in Pennsylvania, and have lived in the Triangle area for the last 26 years.
So how did we get to the Triangle?
How did we get to the Triangle? We used to vacation as a family. I've got 4 children, grown now, and we used to vacation at the in the North Carolina beach area every year. And when their father was faced with kind of a decision with his career and was looking for a new position, possibly, we kind of did a family vote. Where would you like to live? And it was North Carolina. and,
Nice, okay.
and granted, they didn't know anything about North Carolina except for the beach.
Yes. Nice
and
selling
we
point,
ended
yeah.
and we ended up in Cary.
Okay.
So
Alright, the
yeah,
weather was a little bit nicer, snowed a little bit more up in New Jersey, right?
yes,
Now we get and I give people from the North full permission to laugh at my people, Southerners, as we address the issue of snow. For example, it's not, so what you're about to hear is not going to happen. If it were to predict snow on Thursday, we know schools would close tomorrow. The
that's
liquor store
right.
would be empty, and bread and chicken and butter and stuff like that would be off the shelves, yeah, in the
That's
grocery
right.
stores, right? Whereas in New Jersey, you're like, it's just Tuesday."
Well, the year before I moved down here, my kids had 22 snow days. We
Oh,
had snowstorms
oh,
every few days, and they were huge snowstorms, 18 inches to 2 feet of snow, 3 feet of snow. And I said, yeah, I can't do this anymore.
no thanks. Wow. That's a
Yeah,
lot for you Northerners, wasn't it?
yeah,
Because you can deal with, like, 5 inches of snow as long as the roads are plowed, right?
that's right.
Yeah. Oh, my. Alright, so New Bern, let's talk about your husband, Mark. Congratulations, it was your 1st anniversary yesterday, so congratulations,
Thank
happy
you.
anniversary.
Thank you.
How did you and Mark meet, and do you both tell the story the same way?
We met on a dating site, and just so you know, it wasn't the one that rhymes with latch. And we were both kind of, and this was during the pandemic. And as you can imagine, dating during a pandemic is not easy. When we met, things were very much restricted, closed down, and we did actually have a dinner out for the first date. But while we dated, we did things like made jelly together, made pickles together, things like that didn't require. We took long walks in parks and stuff like that. But he at the time was living in Greenville, and he's retired from the banking industry, and he has a boat. He's an avid fisherman, and so he said, I want to be near the water. And I, as you mentioned before, can work from really
Mhm.
anywhere. So New Bern it was, after looking at a bunch of different places in the area. And this town is just so quaint and friendly and beautiful. There's a large artistic community and musical community that we're just enjoying to the max.
What popped up on his bio that made you think, "All right, let me investigate this a little bit more?"
He cooks. He
Ah, that was my next question, yes.
And he said that he definitely used that to his advantage on his dating profile.
Yes, yep.
And I can cook. I raised 4 children and I fed them. I fed them well. But, after decades of cooking for a family, I was pretty much done with cooking. And while I was single, I was slipping a sweet potato into the microwave and
Mm.
calling that dinner. And he's Italian and said he can cook. And I said, well, you can cook for me.
And he will go get the food, he'll go kill the food and bring it back and cook it for you, which is even better, isn't it?
He is an avid hunter and
Yes.
fisherman, which
Uh,
I love fishing as well. And I had on my profile a very large rooster fish that I had caught off the coast of Costa Rica.
mm.
And I don't know if that kind of tipped the scale in my favor for him or not, but
So,
yeah.
from the first time you 2 started talking, how long was it before you could actually get together for the first date?
It was probably about a month.
Oh, man, that had to have been a little bit frustrating, huh?
It was okay though,
Alright.
we got to know each other on the phone and did a lot of FaceTime calls and things like that. And we were just taking it slow, but
Mhm.
and a little cautious. But then once we met, it that got thrown out the window.
And where was the first date?
It was at 42nd Street Oyster Bar in Raleigh. I
Nice.
love that place.
And that's a wise man, he's coming your way rather than you he's saying, "Why don't you come to Greenville?" He's like, "I'll be there in an hour and a half," right? Smart man. Smart man.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, that got him a couple more points, right?
Sure.
So let's talk one of our favorite subjects. We can talk grandkids.
Yeah.
Over your right shoulder, you have pictures of 2 girls, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
We found well, we've known Becky and I have known we have one grandson, Oliver, and we found out 2 weeks ago, and then our son finally told the rest of the family Saturday that we will be grandparents again on or about August 20th. And thank you, and I
Congratulations.
tell people if one is awesome, more just they've gotta come up with another word for, for more than one grandkid. How many do you have, and how often do you get to see them?
So I have six,
Show off.
and
You're killing me. You
three
got
of
6?
I have six
You're
grandchildren.
killing
Yes.
me. Go ahead.
Yeah, my youngest daughter, Marissa, gave me the first grandbaby, and so her two are the two girls that you see above my shoulder. Um, and then my son has two, a boy and a girl, and my second oldest daughter has two boys. So I have three. The girls came first with all their sweetness and demureness,
Yes.
and then the three rowdy boys came. And as a grandparent to a boy, I know that you can attest to that. They are a different breed.
Oh, yeah.
They started doing things as babies, things that the girls who are older didn't even think of doing. But yeah, they are fun. We get to see them fairly often. They love coming here because there's it's just stuff to do, and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's new, and they like to go on the boat and go fishing and all of that.
What is the age range?
They are 11 to 3.
Nice. And what do they call you?
Mimi.
Mimi. And do you have all the birthdays memorized?
Of course.
Okay. I wanted you to brag and say yes because I know there's some people's like, let's see, I got 9 of them. Yeah. So I can, on
Yep.
Oliver, I can do the math. If anybody on any given day says, how old is this? Say, give me a second. I can do the math and get it down to the day. But yeah. So I'm looking forward to having, having a second one. And my son and daughter in law are not going to find out the sex of the baby because they don't care. They just want healthy
How
babies.
exciting is
Yep.
that?
And same thing with Oliver. Nobody knew his name till we met him. So they're going to do the same thing. And I
Yeah.
told him Mike the second. So it got a great ring to it. And my oldest son, as he always does, I just set him up and he lays me down. He goes, not even a chance is the name Mike going to be involved. I'm like, thank you
I
for that.
love
So
that. And I've always said um, it is a very difficult task to name a human.
yes, it is.
I don't know how people do it and choose the name ahead of time. I always had to look at their little faces
Oh,
and figure it out.
oh, interesting. We,
Yeah.
tr- our oldest son, Travis, he was named at a stoplight. Becky and I we lived in Austin, Texas, Travis County. We met at a restaurant that overlooked Lake Travis. And we're driving around one day. She was driving. We pull up to a yellow light and she slows down. It's red, turns red, and she stops. She goes, what do you think of the name Travis? Thought for a second, light turned green. I'm good. And that's how long it took us to name Travis. Now, Cameron, our youngest, 7 months. We had to go to the
Wow.
book of names. I liked Kyle, but of course she dated a guy in high school named Kyle, so that ruled that out. And I love the name Mary, and she said, "No way," because only me and some people named Mary like that name. Most people, it's funny, it's a great divider. Either people love it or hate it. I think it's the greatest name ever, but couldn't get it. If we had a daughter, she wasn't gonna be named Mary. Any granddaughters, both of my boys have ruled that out. So I tried. I
Wow.
tried. So, yeah, and
It,
there's no Oliver on either side of the family, so that was neat. Just a brand new
that
name.
Oliver's a great name.
Are your grandkids new, different names that neither one of the parents had on their sides?
Yeah, they're all different names. Some of them are a mixture of um I don't know, things that their middle names are
Yes.
more names that are family oriented.
Yes.
All the girls have old fashioned names, which I
Ooh.
love. So we've got Evelyn and Daphne and Frances,
Oh, I like
kind
Daphne.
of older
Yeah.
names. And then the boys are Colton, Gunner, and Callan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Those are 6 different names you don't hear a lot of, so good for them. Yeah, we
Yeah.
thought when we named Travis, we were and then all of a sudden, like, there's Travises popping up everywhere. And same thing with Cameron, then there started being a girl's name too.
That's right.
So we're laughing, but
Yeah.
it fits both of them. But I don't know if we even thought of waiting to see their face to name them. So is that what you
Mm.
did with yours?
Yes, absolutely.
Wow.
I was just stumped with having to name this human. And what if I made a mistake and they didn't like their name after they, grew up, and they didn't like me because I named them this awful name.
Wow, you
So
you thought a lot of things that most parents
absolutely. So yeah, it was a process, and it was funny because I remember my grandmother was still alive when my second oldest daughter was born, and she came to visit me in the hospital, and I told her that I named her Audrey Jean, and she just looked at me and said, "I don't like that name,"
Oh, nice.
just like a
Nice.
grandma, like they can do.
Yeah. Now, your name, nobody hardly anybody else spells their name Carol the way you do, Karyl. How did that come about?
Well, I was born in 1959, and there were a lot of Carols.
Okay.
And my mom said, I like the name, but I'm going to spell it different.
I
And
do
she
people
just,
yeah. Do people butcher it more saying it or spelling it?
both,
Oh, good. Okay.
absolutely both. And there are people that have known me for a while, and they will, just do K-A. They got the K right, but
Yeah.
then they put an O instead of a Y. Or, yeah, so
When
it happens.
when you were in school, grade school and middle school, did teachers outthink themselves and try to pronounce it something other than Carol?
Absolutely, and they thought I was a boy. Looking at the class list for the first time, they were expecting a boy, that they had not heard of that name, and I was like, I had nothing to do with it.
Is your middle name normal then?
It is,
Okay.
and
Oh.
the funny thing about that is that I'm number 6 out of 7 kids, a
Oh my.
large family, and my youngest brother is an Irish twin, born in the same year within 11 months of me, and um, was my best friend growing up. And he could never pronounce Carol when he was little. So he called me Annie. So it was like a second, kind of like a second identity, at home and to close friends and family members. I
Ah.
was Annie, school, work, whatever, Carol. So, and to this day, my siblings call me Annie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I love the stories of little kids who can't say well, and that's how some of the better grandparent names came out, like my dad's mom, we called her Gayo, Gayo, because one day my sister, who's the oldest, I'm the middle 3, and so my sister would have been maybe 2 years old at the time, and she was sitting with my mom and Gayo, and she handed her a can of Pepsi and said, basically, "Gayo, do you want some Payo?" Because she couldn't say Pepsi or grandmother or whatever she was at the time, and that's how Gayo was born, so love those stories.
That's
Yeah.
great.
But Annie, interesting. So,
Mhm.
just family, right?
Some close friends. Yep.
Then are
Yep.
you Aunt Carol,
No,
Aunt
Aunt
Annie?
Annie. Hmm.
Nice.
Auntie Annie. And when
Auntie Annie.
and so when I was about to be a grandmother, and my youngest daughter said, "Well, you get to pick. You get to pick what they call you." And so I went through, and I'm like, I am not going to be a Granny Annie. No way. That,
Oh, that's so good. I didn't even put that 2 together those 2 together yet.
yeah,
Nice. Granny
no, it's
Annie.
got to be Mimi.
Yeah, it's hard because my wife did not wanna be grandma or nana or anything like that, so the we and I always wanted to be pop because I never met well, I did, I was like a year old. My mom's dad, I don't ever recall meeting him, have no memory of him, and he was pop, and I thought, "Well, you know what? I wanna carry that on, in family tradition, start
Yeah,
one at least," so I said, "Hey, I wanna be called Pop," and so our family, as goofy as they are, we figured something had to go with Pop.
that's right.
And so we discussed this for about a month amongst everything, and it became we are Lolly and Pop. Yeah.
Oh, I like
So,
that. Very
yeah.
nice.
And I thought when Oliver, with little kids, you never know what words they can pronounce or what letters they have trouble with. And I thought it would turn into Wally and Bob, but it didn't. Yachty, it was Yachty and Poppy had no problem with from day one, which of course I bragged all the time because he's that smart, right? He can say Pop, right? And Becky was Yachty till he could get the L, turn around, get the L. So, but it's funny how
Yeah.
names like that come about. But so Annie, I would like learning stuff. See, that's good. Now,
Yeah.
the I enjoy first on the show, and I believe you're the first one that is a graduate of County College of Morris.
Yes.
All
So
right.
just a kind of a rural area that I grew up in. And um, it was close to home and I could drive and still work. I worked during high school and college in the grocery store industry. And up in New Jersey, grocery stores have unions.
Oh,
And
yeah.
even if you worked part-time, you joined the union and made some good money and actually worked into I think after my second daughter was born, and a little bit after that. And so good benefits and good pay for what it was. And yeah, that was one of my first jobs.
Wow, did they pay for your college too?
No, they didn't pay for
Okay.
college, but
Right.
they paid every cent of my first 2 children being born.
Ooh, there's a nice
Yeah.
benefit. Now, what different roles did you have in the grocery store?
Started out as a checker and went to the what we call the front end, running the front end, which you stood there in front and, if somebody had a problem, they called you and things like that, and ended up in the back office, which was the front end, whenever anybody checked in or checked out and counted their drawers out
Yeah.
for the night, you balanced that, and that's where I ended up. And um, it was fun. And then moved shortly after that to the Pennsylvania area, and then I stayed home with my kids for 16 years.
Nice. Real quick, back to the grocery store. What was the pay rate back then?
I got paid 9.40 an hour when I
Mhm.
left there, and that in 1980, let's see, 1980, 1981,
Mhm.
1982, that was a pretty good wage.
Yes, because I graduated high school in '79, and I worked at was on Capitol Boulevard at Brentwood. It was a Roy Rogers barbecue restaurant,
Okay.
and I think I made $3.65 an hour, I think. And so you were doing very well, and they paid for 2 kids to be born. Nice job. Nice job.
Yeah.
What celebrity's house would you like to do the mortgage for? Just so you could meet them and work with them and get to be friends, Carol.
Let's see here. Probably an NFL. I don't even watch football really, but so to make Mark laugh because he's a Steelers fan. How about an ex? Because he just got kicked off. What's his Roethlisberger?
Yeah.
How
He
about
did he retired.
not
He
that
didn't
he would need a
Yeah.
mortgage, but I would like to do his mortgage.
And not that I need to defend Ben. He retired. He didn't get kicked off, but that's okay.
Did I say he got
You
kicked off?
did, yeah. So that's an issue between you and Mark. That says a lot. I'm not a psychiatrist, but that says a lot. So I'm not going
Oh
there.
my, little
Now,
slip of the tongue.
yeah, so let's take the Steelers out of play. What celebrity would you like to do a mortgage for?
Sandra Bullock, because
Nice.
I like her as an
Yep.
actress.
Okay. Kicked off. Wow. Oh, he must make you watch games on Sunday. You sound pissed.
The funny thing about that is, when we were dating, we I think when you do a dating site type of thing, the success depends on how honest and complete and
Yeah.
thorough you are
Yep.
with creating this profile, right? You're taking a snapshot of
Mm.
yourself, and I feel like you have to be very honest, very transparent, and know what you want or don't want. And he was transparent with what he liked. He is a Steelers fan, and he likes to watch football. Last winter, I guess there was ice hockey on, and and he doesn't like watching ice hockey, but he does have a favorite team, and they were playing, and I'm like, you never told me about this.
I do. It's been a while since I dated. Let me say that before I say this. People are going to find out anyways. He can't hide his Steeler fandom from you. So
No,
you may as well put it out there at the beginning. It saves time, right?
that's right.
Yeah. And it cracks me up. And so don't put long walks on the beach and little puppies. And even if you do, don't
That's
lead
right.
with that because people are going to go, oh my God, is this his or her real picture too? So,
Fair point.
and then you have to decide
Absolutely.
what picture to put up, right?
Oh yeah.
So which picture did you put up?
Um, well, you could pick up several,
Okay.
and keep in mind that this is not. I had never done anything like that before. And so I didn't realize that people use their real names when they make up these profiles. So I actually made up a new first name.
Oh, nice. Is it okay to ask you to share that with us, or do you want to just leave between you and
Sure, I
Mark?
don't care. I made up the name Mariana.
Ooh, mysterious. I like that. I like that.
Yes.
All right.
And of course I told him immediately that's not my name
Yeah.
and
Y-
what my real name
But
was.
from a female standpoint, I get that because my kind is stupid, and people would have, yeah. So I get women wanting some initial protection and privacy. So I got no problem with that. As long as you came
Yeah,
clean to him, didn't really matter, but
that's right.
that's funny. Yeah, the dating sites, but you'd be surprised how many people on this show met their spouse on a dating site. Yeah,
Really?
more and
That's
more
awesome.
people. Yeah, yeah, it's, it's a time thing, and, of course, certainly it became a COVID thing too, didn't it? Because can't really bar hop or get set up on a blind date with a friend because nobody was leaving the house.
That's
Oh
right.
my.
And so last year, I'm on Facebook and on different Facebook groups. And there was a local group, and there's a local TV station, and the one of the newscasters had said, "Okay, has anybody out there used a dating site to meet anybody during COVID, and how did that work out?" And there were probably 20 responses, and I read them all, and they all were very negative, like, "Oh yeah, it was horrible. I will never do that again. It was awful." And I said, "Oh, I had a great experience." And I not only had a great experience, but we're together, we're engaged, we weren't married yet. And it's wonderful. And so she contacted me, and we were interviewed and on the news last year before for the Valentine's Day little special feature. And and then of course we got married the next week. So
And when yeah, and the kicker is you can just tell other women he cooks and just
that's
leave it
right.
at that. Just leave it at that, right?
I mean, most women really do understand. They do.
If somebody were thinking about getting into the mortgage industry, what tips would you give them? What do they need to think about?
Um, you have to have a thick skin. There's a lot of competition out there, and you have to have the heart of wanting to help a person. And it's not always a short sales cycle. You know, you could start with somebody, today, and maybe they won't close on a house until sometime next year even. But it's the relationship. You're building a relationship. You're possibly helping improve their credit situation or their overall credit profile so that they can qualify and be in the best situation financially and credit wise that they possibly can. And I've always told people that, that's going to give you options in the future. So work on that. You can't go wrong. But really, that is, if you're going to get into this business, have the heart of really wanting to improve somebody's situation and their overall credit profile.
And I'm sure it's a wonderful payoff when you get a letter or an email or a card from someone you helped that got hit that finally moved into their house. I bet you love that moment.
Absolutely love it. Yes, when someone owns a home in a community, they're more apt to get involved with their community. They are more apt to possibly join a church and other organizations that strengthen communities. And I believe in that. That's where, to me, that's where magic happens. That's where you really get to know your neighbors, and you want to help them. And you maybe somebody has a garden and they have a bunch of zucchini, and they go door to door and hand them out. But that's community, and getting to know each other and help each other. I love that part of it.
Very nice, very nice. So anybody in the state of North Carolina starting
Yes,
now could call you and you could
yes,
help them move into their first or best or next house.
absolutely.
All right, so
Or
we've been putting Carol's number up there on the screen, Alcova Mortgage. So please reach out to her, especially if you live in the New Bern area. You're looking to grow your business. Hey, there's a BNI chapter getting ready to get started. They got some momentum going, and more importantly, you got Carol on your side. And I know you are looking forward to launching that chapter, hopefully sooner rather than later, and we're there to help you for that. So we've
yeah,
enjoyed it today, Carol, getting to know about life in New Bern
absolutely.
and why you're Aunt Annie but not Granny Annie. So we like that. Love those stories. But anyways, hope 2022 is off to a good start for you, and the rest of the year gets going well. And COVID, I've given up guessing where we are in all of this. I when it started, I thought it was like a 6-week deal when BNI said, "Hey, everybody's going Zoom for a while." I'm like, 6 or 8 weeks, they'll figure things out and see how wrong I was. So I'm not even offering up any advice anymore. But COVID or no COVID, they could still reach out to you anywhere they live in North Carolina. Are you licensed anywhere else?
I am not, but our company is in all the southeastern states, and so I can certainly refer them to somebody that will give them the same exact service as I can, and within my own company.
There you go. You need people like that on your side. So, Karyl, we've enjoyed it very much. Like I said, good luck the rest of 2022, and we will see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.